There I am. Very good. Gosh, I should have shaved that photo. Excellent. Okay, I have a reveal. First of all, it's awesome to be at the Brighton Dome. As you can see, I am the human embodiment of the Brighton Dome. I didn't know it was here until I drove up. I just made me laugh. Anyhow, so what I have planned today in my 14 minutes and 11 seconds is a quick portfolio teardown. I've been really active the last decade investing. I haven't done this before. It was a good practice for me to kind of go through my portfolio and actually take stock of what I've done the last decade. And this was the force function that I probably should have done, should have had a few years ago. I want to talk about my wins and losses, what I've learned, and I put down AMA. We won't have any time for AMA right now, but in the bar, ask me anything. So, I'm 52. And according to ChatGPT, the average age of a British angel is 52. So if you're under 52, congratulations, you are a billionaire. You are a time billionaire. You have, on average, over 1 billion seconds to live your life. And I read this up because, of course, as angels, we're doing something that can be financially lucrative, but also it can be a huge time suck, a time investment, hopefully. And I think coming together like this, it's really important to sort of get to know one another and make sure that we are spending our time wisely because, of course, it's our most important asset that we have. If you're under 52, congratulations. I had a gilet in my car. I was going to wear it and like ceremoniously take it off and say, I am not a VC, I'm an angel, and throw the gilet away, but I left it in the car. But I've done 3 things in my life. I started life in a corporate setting, like many of you. Did a decade at GE Capital, where I lent money. I then spent the next 8 years building a startup doing the opposite. I built a company that sort of was an instrumental part of deleveraging the British economy after the great financial crisis. And that was a great investment and certainly one at the right time. And I sold that company in 2014. And when I sold the company, I pledged that I would actually reinvest half the proceeds back into new founders. And that's actually been my sort of, I won't say my life's work, but certainly it's taken me a decade to do that. And I officially achieved that task about a year ago. And now I am a full-time investor, investing the proceeds of the wins back into the ecosystem. And this is where I spent my time. So in a decade, I've estimated I've taken over 8,000 meetings. Pre-pandemic, those were primarily face-to-face meetings. I've made 213 direct investments, a number of investments as into SPVs and as an LP, and then as a Techstars MD, I made 50 investments into primarily fintech companies across Europe. And I've calculated my total unique company exposure across everything is about 325, which is crazy. However, I think we've all read things that say, as an angel, making 5 investments, you're probably going to lose money. Making 10, you're probably going to lose money. You probably have to make between 25 and 50 before you're properly diversified, because of course we're all looking for that outlier that pays for all of our errors. So I'm not sure if 325 is the right number, but it's closer to the right number than making 5 or 10. And hurrah, I'm evergreen, right? So it's taking me a decade. The losses come first. So I was mentioning it's a confidence game. There was years, right, 4 or 5 years where I thought I was an idiot. Most of my investments didn't go to zero, but I hadn't had any exits. I had some markups, but they weren't tremendous. But I had plenty of write-downs and write-offs, and it was hard to deal with. But I felt like I was in it for the long haul, and you just have to be patient. I'm doing pre-seed and seed investments. They're not going to turn into amazing companies overnight, so I was patient. And where I am after a decade, DPI, which some of you will know, some of you won't, but effectively it's cash. If I invest £100,000, let's say, I get 235,000 back of cash. TVPI, total value, that's markups. That's sort of that's the hope that that number is real, and potentially it's even greater. And I think it could be greater for me because I went through my investments, and the average duration on my investments, even though I've invested for a decade, is about 4 years. So it's still relatively early. And I put down meaningful exits here. I think if you go into PitchBook or Crunchbase, you're going to see some ridiculous number attributed to me. I didn't put that in there. I think they actually put down when a company is sold for like $1. Some founders will congratulate themselves on, on LinkedIn when they sell their company for $1. I stay quiet generally. I've had 8 meaningful exits. Just giving you an idea of sort of like what to expect, how long to wait, and then what sort of return you could get. So a 2.35 DPI from 8 meaningful exits, where I would say the majority of my great companies are still out there, is pretty good.
Hey Chris, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I don't think your microphone's on, so let's switch that on properly.
That's all right. Oh, is that easier?
There we go.
Should I start from the beginning? Okay. Okay, big wins. This is one of my requirements. So notable performers, I would say 20 to 100 times my money. These 5 companies here, some of you might have heard of. I was the first investor in a company called Marshmallow. I'll come back to you later in the slides. They provide car insurance. Kava is actually another car insurance, Shows you not everything has to be AI to make money. Kuda Bank is a leading retail bank in Nigeria with about 8 million customers now. Smart Pension, you can guess. And then Quant Network is blockchain interoperability. My worst performer, it's the one I didn't do, right? It's never the one that I did and marked it down. That's okay. It's the one I didn't do, or worse, the one I wanted to do and I was outvoted. And that's one for the bar, but that would have been investing into Nick's company, Revolut, at a $3 million valuation, outvoted. And I have all the details. My carry, I calculated, would have been 240 million. Personal carry, not even, yeah. So anyhow, that's definitely the worst performer, probably of all time. Many of my investments went to zero, right? So, I'm American. I've been in Britain for 28 years, and I've learned nobody likes a bragging American. So I wanted you to know that I've screwed up along the way. 42 and counting have been written off, but I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. The first one is just like understanding, I guess, the math that we're all exposed to here. So this is like average, right? This is what the average investor will hope to make, which is about 2 times their money over a decade. Most of them will fail, and you'll probably get about 2 big winners out of 100, if you do 100, right? And that's a challenge. And the stuff in the middle doesn't even really register when you do the math. If you get a 5x return, it feels good, but when you run the math, it's not going to get you to like the magic 3 times or 4 times your money. And of course, the 2x return, over 10 years, it's about a 7 to 9 IRR, which is about what the S&P 500 has done the last sort of 15 years. You'd be better off just leaving it in the S&P. The good news is we can shape the math. And I put down sort of 3 drivers how you can shape the math. Obviously, it's very easy to write these things. It's very hard to do it in practice, but backing 3 rather than 2, big winners. This is somebody who gives you a 50 times return. That will get you to the magic 3 times rather than 2 times your money. And you're going to outpace the S&P, and you're going to be considered probably a top quartile investor. Or your 2 big winners can deliver a 100x return rather than a 50x return, which could happen, right? Because this is not a game that we're playing where we hope to make 2 or 3 times our money. We all are investing in probably these companies because we want to make 100 times or even greater. And the third one, which is in our control, if you invest primarily in EIS, you take and it's efficient, and you get your 30% tax shield. That will get you to just about 3x. But you can also shape the map with your value and behaviors, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. So your values matter in life. Your values matter as an angel because, of course, your reputation means everything, and it can also enhance returns. So the first thing I put down is build bridges. That's what we're doing today, right? It's not just networking. It's connecting people. I find some people that are networkers, I always feel like it's more of a withdrawal, whereas I think people that are connectors, it's more of a deposit relationship. So I think learning to kind of occasionally withdraw but occasionally deposit is a healthy ecosystem, and it builds up great goodwill. And I want to skip over a couple of these stories because I'm looking at the time monitor, and I realize that I haven't actually timed myself. But Connor Murphy is the founder of Bridge app. So I actually use this software to help make double opt-in warm introductions. So when I meet a founder the first time, in the first 30 minutes, I'll try to find 2 or 3 people that I think they should really, really meet, if I like them. And I will use Bridge to make double opt-in warm introductions. and then I'll wait a couple weeks, and I'll see what's happened with those introductions. And it's a way for me to kind of keep, I guess, control or audit who I introduce founders to. And it's super, super effective. Embrace serendipity. So these guys are obviously identical twins. You might recognize them. I saw that they ranked number 7 on the Times Rich list under the age of 40, beating Ed Sheeran by 22 places, apparently. I met Oliver and Alexander Kent Bram, who are the founders of Marshmallow, at a really, really boring event. The type of event where you write out your own name tags and put it on. And there was a guy with a badge that said Oliver. I said, Oliver? Oh, wow, I have a son named Oliver. And Oliver said, oh, I'm here with my brother. He's over there. He's a twin brother. He's Alexander. And I said, I have a twin son named Alexander as well. And I was like, what the hell? Jeez, okay. They weren't even founders. They were thinking about quitting their job. And I just had a beer with them, had a chat, told them what I did. And we didn't speak for about 4 months. And then all of a sudden I get an email back from Oliver saying, hey, we've quit our job. We're going to start this company. It's an insurance company. It's called Marshmallow. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve the crappy deal that immigrants get on car insurance. And I was like, tell me about it, because I was an immigrant at one point. I bought a 9,000 pound used BMW, and then I got my car insurance quote. It was 5,000 pounds because I was 23. And he says, we're going to solve that for everyone. And sure enough, I invested about a £4 million valuation. I put a little bit more in at the next round and then stopped. That was kind of beyond my ability. 3 weeks ago, they announced their round. They raised $100 million at $2 billion valuation. So it's one of my better investments, and it literally started with looking at someone's name tag. A give first attitude. Have a give first attitude. So it's a bit like paying it forward or karma, but a little bit different, because it's not quite altruism, because sometimes you get stuff back, and you just don't know when it's going to happen or from whom. The story I have here is I went to GITEX Dubai, bought my own ticket, signed up to be a mentor to mentor local companies. After about 3-4 hours, I had an organizer come over to me saying, we've had good feedback that you're just providing really great mentorship. Who are you? And I gave him my kind of origin story. And he said, oh, well, you should be on stage. And I was like, well, I'm just a guest here. He's like, no, you're going to be on stage. And by the end of the day, they had me doing a pitch competition grading. And after that, I got to meet the other people that were on stage with me. One of the guys got in touch with me sort of a month later, and he asked if I would do a few favors for him back in London. And sure enough, I was helping set up an event for Mohammed bin Salman, so the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and got to meet one of the princes of Saudi Arabia at that event. So literally, I went from sort of being a mentor in Dubai to meeting a prince of Saudi Arabia, literally just by having a give first attitude. I want to skip this one because I'm running out of time. Be Socratic. And expect nothing in return. Be responsive. Okay, so this is Babs. He's the founder of Kuda Bank. Kuda Bank is the fastest growing retail bank in Nigeria. It now has 9 million customers. Peter Thiel backed it at a 500 million valuation in its last round. Arguably, it's worth more now. Story here is, obviously, this is where they are now. In 2020, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and Babs was calling me probably every second or third day, talking through his issues. And I was responding right away. And because of that, I was able to introduce him to Target Global, who wound up leading his Series A. And I was able to get on the phone with Musti, who's the co-founder and the CTO, get to know Musti, find out what he needed, and I wound up sponsoring him for his visa application into the UK, writing a letter to the government. He was successful, and now that part of the Kuda operation operates out of London. So that all is because, as an investor, as an angel, I was responsive. I'm -1, be authentic, be direct. Okay, you have to be Socratic, but be direct, it depends. This is the founder, Jerry. He would not mind if I told you this story. Jerry is brilliant, but he's a bit He's a bit grungy, a bit disheveled, and during lockdown, he was doing all his calls, obviously, through Zoom, like all of us. The direct response to Jerry was, Jerry, you look like a vagrant. You look like you're in a closet. You need some better lighting. You need to sharpen yourself up, and you need to smile because you look miserable. Would you be willing to take, if I introduce you to someone I know, would you spend a little bit of money to help the way you come across? And I introduced her to a woman named Anna. Anna Boone is a friend of mine. She's also an actress, and she's actually worked with a lot of my portfolio companies, helping people exactly, help them get their words across, help them with their storytelling, helping them with their grooming, maybe. I had a call with Jerry probably 2 weeks later, and I had kind of forgotten I gave him this feedback. And the call started, we were 10 seconds in. I was like, oh my God, Jerry, you've spoken to Anna. The light was there, he smiled at me, and I said, this is going to help. And it did. He raised money for his company. I had a conversation with my son the other day about this. This is a great quote, Albert Einstein's quote, actually. Yeah, compound interest, he who understands it, earns it, he who doesn't pays it. I put this in here because I think it relates to relationships as well. And if you invest in your relationships a little bit every day, it does compound, and it's amazing. You really invest into relationships, human relationships, networks, giving back. It compounds over time, and what happens is you get better deal flow, you're a better angel investor, you're a better mentor. And I'll leave you with this quote that I won't read. It's from Jeff Bezos. But the sum up of the whole piece is this. In baseball or in cricket, the most runs you can score is 6. Baseball, it's a grand slam, it's 4. In investing, especially early stage investing like we do, sometimes you can make 100, sometimes 1,000 times your money. And that's why it pays to be bold, because this is not about kind of making small, tiny, incremental investments, investing in companies that are 10% better. This is actually backing people who are they're very ambitious, very bold, and we have to make sure we're equally as bold as investors. Thank you very much.